Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Verizon Files Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. The Board will take formal action on payment of bills and other agenda items. Johnson.
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or visual recording devices, provided that the act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered the private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recordings and completely disavows any future use.
Roll call.
D'Antono? Chaudhry?
Here.
Lent?
Present.
Marqueta?
Here.
Slade?
Here.
Singh?
Present.
Sulikowski?
Here.
Weber? Giordano?
Here. All stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Code of Ethics Corner.
The board member will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you. Approval of minutes, item number 1. Can I have a motion?
Lent will move it. Chaudhry will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Chaudhry?
Yes.
Lent?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Slade?
Yes.
Singh?
Yes.
Sulikowski?
Yes.
Giordano?
Yes. Okay. We do not have our student representative, so we move on to recognition items 1 through 6. Can I have a motion?
Lent will move it.
Slade will second.
Mr. Sardino?
Separating number 1 for discussion.
Yep.
We're good? Okay, we have 2 retirees this month. Last month, I think we had 6 or 7. We have Jean Ferreira. She was the math supervisor. She's been here for many, many years, 33 years. And April Lavallo, transportation. She was here for 12 years, a total of 45 years. The board wishes you much luck and happiness on your retirement. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm going to move to the dais for next part of recognition, and please pardon me while I have to go out of order because we do have some first responders who have to get back to first responding. First, I'm going to move to item number 5, which is move the board to recognize our woodshop teacher, Mr. Andrew Borriello, in cooperation with Ms. Nancy Coughlin, and the following students for their framing and restoration of a 9/11 memorial artwork piece that was commemorating the efforts of Ground Zero and the New Jersey State Police Office of Emergency Management and Urban Search and Rescue. Those students are Charles Barlow, Gabriel Burke, Nicholas Caruso, Shane Cully, Adam Kabilski, Gabrielle Dolchelier, Iftikhar Fazli, James Martin, Sabrina Martinez, Alex McLaughlin, Ryan Olson, Matthew Schuler, Jason Smith, and William Swain. Mr. Borriello, please come to the dais. And if we could have Mr. Tommy Miller with the Office of Emergency Management and the Fire Commission for Old Bridge Township, please come up with Board Member Lent to help present with this commemorative plaque. Ms. Coghlan? Okay. Come on up. And if the camera can zoom in on that, you can see on the plaque, it has the picture of the students when they finished the framing of this beautiful 9/11 piece. Mr. Miller, I present that, to the wood shop. The wood shop's going to put that in their classroom, and of course you have the 9/11 memorial hanging in your office.
Thank you, guys.
Anything you want to say real fast?
Yeah, I'll make it quick.
Go ahead.
I just made a quick speech, but just so everybody kind of understands. So, on behalf of the entire New Jersey Task Force 1 team and myself, we would like to thank Mr. Borriello and the students of Old Bridge High School woodshop class. On Wednesday, December 14, 2022, I reached out to Mr. Borriello about the possibility of his students repairing and preserving a large picture poster that was signed by all the members of New Jersey Task Force 1 that responded to Ground Zero on September 11, 2001. Mr. Borriello and the students gladly took on the project with great focus and enthusiasm. On September 11, 2001, 2 commercial airliners were hijacked by terrorists and flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, New York City, New York. At the request of the City of New York, New Jersey Task Force 1 responded to the disaster site, which became known as Ground Zero. For the next 10 days, New Jersey Task Force 1 personnel worked 12-hour shifts under extremely dangerous conditions, assisting in rescue and recovery operations. Members of the task force entered, searched, structurally triaged, and completed search markings at the Customs Building, World Financial Center, and the Port Authority Path train station located beneath the World Trade Center. Team members located and recovered victims by sight, excavation, electronic search, and by canine. New Jersey Task Force 1 Urban Search and Rescue is part of the FEMA USAR system. FEMA USAR system responds to disasters all over the world to perform rescue and recovery operations. Our deployment team consists of 80 USAR members specializing in rescue, live find, human remains detection canines, canine handlers, technical search, medical, hazmat, logistics, safety, communications, and planning personnel. An Urban Search and Rescue Task Force is a multidisciplinary organization which conducts search, rescue, and recovery in technical rescue disciplines, including structural collapse, rope rescue, vehicle extrication, machinery extrication, confined space, trench excavation, flood and swift water rescue, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive operations. The members of New Jersey Task Force 1 appreciate all the time and effort that was put into this project by all the students of the Old Bridge High School woodshop class. We can't thank you enough for all your hard work and dedication. I could see the to the members of the team. This is more just a poster on the wall. It is a symbol of the sacrifice and extreme effort that went into the operations down at Ground Zero, and we are eternally grateful to the woodshop class for all your hard work on this project. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to go to item number 3 at this time. And if I can have up to the dais the recipients from that motion. So move the board to recognize our ShopRite program, advisors, students, for their efforts to provide a service to high school community through the Transition Education Program. And Dr. Two of you can join us, please. And we'll have up here our staff that operates this, Jessica Domino, Ms. Stacy Villa, and Mandy Placino, with our students, Zaid Dimes, Victoria Fiella, Kelly Higgins, Michaela Huff, Victoria Kroll, James Martin, Maxwell Medeiros, Alex Percheski, and Sasha Podjaheski. And Ms. Domino, can I present you with the plaque? And maybe you guys go to the stage. It's a nicer little place, and you go up there with your recipient. And go ahead, you guys go up. And I'll ask Dr. Tui, anything you'd like to say about the program, just very briefly? There you go, on the stage. Big show.
Well, Ms. Villa and Ms. Domino are the lifeblood of this program, along with the wonderful students that provide the services to our students every day. It is a wonderful program, and they do a absolutely amazing job, and I'd like to thank them so much for all their dedication and hard work over the course of the past 6 years. So thank you both.
Board recognition number 4. Move the board to recognize Youssef Shahat, class of 2023, for completing the Troop 219 Eagle Scout project. Youssef is being recognized for his outstanding dedication and patriotism for his 9/11 monument and the beautification of a project at the Monmouth County Correctional Institute. The memorial is dedicated to first responders who lost their lives on 9/11/2001. Can I have Youssef and his family please come up to the dais? Youssef, we proudly present you with a certificate for your recognition at Eagle Scout. We all know that it's a very taxing and very challenging process to become an Eagle Scout. You've completed it with true Old Bridge spirit, but on top of that, you included patriotism in your work, and we can't be more proud of you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Item number 6 is for the board to recognize the cast and crew of the Old Bridge High School musical, Something Rotten, for winning the Central Jersey Marquee Awards. Can I have Sam Tropia and Mackenzie McGowan please come up? And anyone else from the program, because I'm also giving an overall certificate to the program. So anyone else from the program, please come up. Advisors. So I present Sam with her certificate for Best Supporting Actor. And Mackenzie for Best Supporting Actress. For the entire production and cast and crew, Best Choreography. Can you guys go up to the stage for your picture? Step on the stage. There you go. We're now going to go to item number 2, and I'm going to turn that over to Dr. James Toohey.
Thank you, Mr. Zedino. One of the things we're most proud of here in Old Bridge at our high school is our transition planning program. It is excellent. It provides the students with an opportunity to go into the community and gain some really solid work experience. To that effect, none of that would be able to be done without Mrs. Villa and Mrs. Domino, who are work so hard to procure locations for our students to go to each and every year, and then Mrs. Stokey, who's in the crowd, helping to coordinate everything through the Department of Special Services. So thank you to the three of you for all your hard work and effort over the course of the year. We are here tonight to recognize 6 of the businesses that work very closely with our transition planning program. And if there's a representative from that respective business in the crowd tonight, if you want to come up, we do have another certificate for you that you can also place on your wall. The first is we work closely with the Acme of Old Bridge, and Scott was our contact there. We want to thank Scott for all his hard work and effort this year. From Friendlies, Mr. John Krejci, who works so hard with all of our programs over the course of the year. From iPlay America, Mrs. Samantha Ungert. From MJ's, Buttonwood Manor, Andrea, Panera Bread, Tricia, our contact there, and from Walgreens, Scott. So thank you all for everything that you do. And if anyone's here, I have a certificate for you as well. Thank you.
Yep, okay. Any other discussion from the board? Okay. Roll call?
Sorry.
Yes.
Jodry? Lent?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Slade?
Yes.
Singh?
Yes.
Sulikowski?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Dantano?
Yes.
Giordano?
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 6 pass.
Superintendent's report?
Thank you, Mr. President. As required twice yearly by law, June is the time when we summarize the reporting requirements under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights and the Violence, Vandalism, and CDS usage report that must go to the state twice a year. This will reflect period 1, which is from September to January 1st of the 22-23 school year. So not the entire school year, but the 22-23 school year. The Student Safety Data System, or SSDS, requires the collection and input of the following information: counts of incidents by categories such as violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse. Results of the vandalism, such as were the police notified and with no complaint filed, police were notified with a complaint filed, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, expulsions, unilateral removals, removal by an administrative law judge. The report also requires the names, the report also requires student offenders, student victims, school personnel victims, student victims of a violent criminal offense. This year's count for September to December, the district reported 8 incidents of violence, 2 incidents of vandalism, 1 weapons offense, and 5 substance abuse offense. The number of HIB confirmed incidents during that same time period were 20. All 20 were investigated and completed within the 10-day requirement as required by law. And the Board of Education, as required by law, rendered its final decision at a board meeting in all 20 of those cases. The number of HIB allegations were 33. All 33 of those were finished within their 10-day time period, and the board communicated their decision in all 33 of those. So in summary of the period 1 of 2022-23, there were 8 acts of violence, 2 vandalism, 1 weapons, 5 substance abuse, for a total of 16. The previous year, for the entire year, was 53. Keep in mind that this was only half of the year. The year prior to COVID, 18-19, was 125. So we're trending in a downward spiral, which is good. As far as HIB, for this period, there were 20 confirmed and 33 alleged. If I go back to a period prior to COVID, for an entire year, there were 27 confirmed and 58 alleged. That completes this required twice-yearly report and my superintendent's report.
And progress towards goals?
That would include that as well.
Any correspondence?
No,
Okay.
there's no correspondence.
Can I ask a quick question? Is the 20 out of the 33 or in addition to?
The 20 is, and that would mean that there's 13 that unfounded, yes.
Can I ask a question as well?
Yes?
The data, does that also, like, the HIB reports, are they also done like through gender, sexuality, race, stuff like that? Do we get those reports as well?
They do break them down for the state. It's not required as part of the reporting, but as board members have asked for that information in the past, they are made available.
Thank you. So if we wanted to, like, we could just ask and you'll send us the information?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any special committee reports? Okay, moving on to hearing of the residents on agenda items only. Okay. Moving on to policy, resolution number 1. Can I have a motion? I'll make
Jodry
a
will
mo-
move.
Okay, I'll second.
Jodry.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Lent.
Yes.
Marqueta.
We're voting on policy?
Yes.
Yes.
Slade.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
Sulikowski.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
D'Antuono.
Yes.
Chaudhry.
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Curriculum items 1 through 21. Can I have a motion?
D'Antuono will move.
Slade will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Marqueta.
Yes.
Slade.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
Sulikowski.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
D'Antuono.
Yes.
Chaudhry.
Yes.
Lent.
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 21 pass.
Finance items number 1 through 22. Can I have a motion? I'll make the motion.
D'Antuono will sec.
Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to remove 18 for discussion.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Slade?
I was going to have Joe do it, but CJ, can we just discuss, on 18, I was reading, we did get a savings in the policy? You
Correct.
could just highlight that?
If you see where the item under property, it's $648,000, 843,403. Previously, that was $748,403, so it was a savings of about $99,000. And then it went up we had an additional cyber policy that was added due to the size of our district.
So we saved about 70 grand.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Slade?
Yes.
Singh?
Yes.
Sulikowski?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
D'Antuono?
Yes.
Chaudhry?
Yes.
Lent?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Giordano?
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 22 passes.
Athletics item number 1. Can I have a motion?
Lent will move it. Jodry will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Singh?
Yes.
Sulikowski?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
D'Antuono?
Yes.
Chaudhry?
Yes.
Lent?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Slade?
Yes.
Giordano?
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Non-certificated personnel office items 1 through 4. Can I have a motion?
Marqueta moves.
Lent will second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to separate number 2 for voting purposes.
Got it.
Marqueta, thank you.
Any other separations? Okay. Any other discussion on anything? Okay, roll call on item number 2.
Item number 2 first.
Yep.
Okay. Sulikowski?
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antonio,
Yes.
Joudry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
No.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolution number 2 passes.
Roll call on items 1, 3, and 4.
Sulikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antonio,
Yes.
Joudry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolutions 1, 2, and 3 pass.
Non-certificated personnel operational, items 1 and 2. Can I have a motion?
Slade
I'll
will-
move it.
Second.
That was
That was
Slade.
all three of us.
Solikowski, Slade.
Okay.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Sulikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antonio,
Yes.
Joudry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 and 2 pass.
Non-certificated personnel, other, items 1 through 8. Can I have a motion? Giordano motion. Can I have a second?
Marqueta seconds.
Any discussion?
Can we separate 6, or can I just, Chris, just abstain from 6?
Yes, you can just note your abstention.
Okay.
You got that, CJ?
Okay, roll call?
D'Antonio,
Yes.
Joudry,
Yes.
Lent abstains. Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolution 1 through 8 passes. Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Got it. Okay.
Okay. Certificated personnel, items 1 through 24. Can I have a motion?
Joudry will move. Lent will second.
Any discussion?
Separating number 3, 4, and 15 for voting purposes.
Any other discussion before separation? Okay. Roll call on items 3, 4, and 15.
Individually or combined?
Yeah, okay.
Individually.
Individual, okay. All right, so resolution number 3, any discussion or just voting?
Point of order, point of order. D7, which is an attachment, is there reference in any of this, unless I missed it, that it refers to that in the actual voting process?
That's the contract that's being voted for under number 3, Mr. Over. I'm not sure what your question is.
Yeah, I'm just saying, of the items that Ms. Solikowski is questioning, does that include that, or is it
Yes,
identified there? No, I'm
Yes,
just
that
missing
that is number 3.
Number 3, okay.
Okay, so roll call on number 3.
Number 3. Joudry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Ms. Lamb, you have to abstain.
Abstain.
Marqueta,
No.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
No.
Sulikowski,
No.
Weber,
No,
D'Antonio,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
That's 4 to 4 and 1 abstain.
Motion fails. That's a personnel appointment.
Roll call on item number 4.
May I say something about the previous motion?
Not yet.
Okay.
We ready? Joudry, number 4.
Yes.
Lent,
Just to clarify, Mr. Parton, I can vote on this one, correct? The directors?
Yes, you can.
Okay, yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
No.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antuono,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolution number 4 passes.
Roll call on item number 15.
Jodry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
No.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
No.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antuono,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolution number 15 passes.
Any discussion on any of the items that were either voted on or not voted on yet?
Yes, I just have a question. Mr.,
Mm-hmm.
when we discussed this in negotiations, you indicated that you were in agreement, and I just wondered if something happened in the meantime that you're not in agreement.
Yeah, well, I thought long and hard about it, and from the very first time that we had the initial discussion, and I changed my mind accordingly.
Is there a reason?
I have my reasons.
I mean,
yes.
but it would help us if we knew if there's a reason.
I didn't think it was the right vote.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, roll call on items 1, 2, 5 through 14, 16 through 24.
Jodry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antuono,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 24 excluding 3, 4, and 15 passes.
Non-certificated personnel transportation, items 1 through 5. Can I have a motion?
Lent will move it.
D'Antuono will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antuono,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 5 passes.
Transportation, items number 1 through 4. Can I have a motion?
Jodry will move.
D'Antuono will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski.
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antuono,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 4 pass.
Supplies, equipment, and services, items 1 through 22. Can I have a motion?
Slade will move.
Lent will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Slade, Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski.
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antuono,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 22 pass.
Miscellaneous, items 1 through 12. Can I have a motion?
Lent will move it.
Jodry will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski.
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antuono,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 12 pass.
Board secretary and board business, item number 1. Can I have a motion?
Santana will move.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Santana will move.
Do
Jovi
that.
will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Sulikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
D'Antonio,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Lent,
Yes.
Marqueta,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Moving on to hearing of the residents on any school district issue.
Hi, Scott Mazzella, Public Relations Coordinator. Can you just clarify under certificated personnel number 3 what that means for those of us who don't know what that means? If it's a tie and then one that's abstention?
Yes, it's a personnel appointment, so by law that requires 5, which is a majority of the full board. So Ms. Lent is conflicted from voting on that, so it requires 5, and 4-4 doesn't get it done. You still have a superintendent. The motion number 3 was to rescind an existing contract and replace it with a new contract. The failure of the motion means that the existing contract remains in effect through June 30th, 2027.
Hi, I'm Nancy Cogland. I am a township resident and staff member. I just wanted to inform everyone the OBEA was very busy this year supporting our schools and communities with grants totaling over $50,000. We are proud to have sponsored the materials for Science Night, Memorial and Voorhees School's virtual pizza making events, dinner for the Sandburg Diversity Club, Southwood School descriptive writing and cookie decorating event, and that's just to name a few. It was our pleasure to partner with SEPTA to provide a sensory playground for Glen School and also supported their IEP parent workshops. We supported PTA councils with both their trunk or treat and their candidates night. Our Make-A-Wish pizza and pictures with Santa event was a huge success. With the help of AJ Silvestri, we had over 400 families attend. This helped to raise over $7,000 towards Macy's Make-A-Wish campaign. We completely funded Sandburg's Civil War Day. This event brought the classroom outside, allowing students to get a better understanding of life during the Civil War. The actors and active cannon certainly transported the students back in time. We donated over $500 worth of breakfast cereal to the Old Bridge Food Bank to help feed families that rely on school breakfasts. We finished the year with an ice cream social, and this event was open to all students and their families. All of these events are completely free and directly benefit our students and their families. If you are interested in applying for a grant for the 23-24 school year, please reach out to obeapresident@gmail.com. Thank you.
Hi, Jill Calley. Last week, I asked a question about how the proposed I'm sorry, it's too loud or I'm standing too close. How the proposed superintendent contract gets to the county superintendent.
Yes, you asked that question. Are you asking it again?
I guess not. So last week, I was told that the board has a copy of the contract. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, the board and the superintendent review the contract. And if there is, if Mr. Mara's office and I am directed to send it to the county for review, we do so. The county review is necessary before the board can actually take action on the contract.
Okay, and you're directed by the Board of Education to
Yes.
send it to the county superintendent?
Yes.
And what's that process?
The process is a process that takes place in executive session and can't be discussed publicly.
Okay, I'm not asking who voted yes or no, but you need a consensus. I think that's what you said to me.
Yes,
last
in
week,
in
a
order for-
consensus of the board.
In order for the contract to go to the county, the board has to ask for it to go to the county, so yes.
So hypothetically, if in executive session, there was an informal straw poll of 4, 4, and 1, would you have sent it to the county?
No, we would not.
Okay, so the full board had the contract, and at least 5 people, straw poll, not official vote, I understand that, agreed to send it to the county superintendent for approval.
We're drifting beyond hypothetical now. So we're not going to talk about what happened in executive session.
Okay. Board consensus on any item has to be the majority, right?
Yes, you were a board member. The consensus means majority.
I know, I'm just asking for clarification of the public. And you had to review the contract before that, right?
Mr. Mayor's office and the superintendent's office and I were all involved in generating it and reviewing it, yes.
Okay, so if there was board consensus, you needed board consensus to send it to the county superintendent for approval, or even to enter into negotiations, that's taxpayer money spent to draw up a contract, to pay an attorney to review the contract.
Yeah, the administrative time, legal time. Yes.
To have it voted no.
Are we allowed to go back and forth like this? I thought it was just a statement and then we give the answers later.
I think we've laid out the process at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Point of order, Chris. I know it went on the agenda last week, but the initial discussion existed before that some period of time. I don't remember when it was first went to.
I think that we had these discussions starting in the beginning of May.
So toward that point, toward that end, I'm one that changed my vote, and that has to do with everything that I thought about, researched for the long time I've been on the board, and that's basically why I made my decision and it changed. And so the public is perfectly clear. The vote that counts is the one you took tonight.
I was also not present at that executive session, so. Just for clarification for anybody from the public that would like to know, thank you.
Any other members of the public want to speak? Yep.
Been a long time. Good evening. My name is Pat Horsley. I'm a citizen of Old Bridge, born and raised here. I've lived here my entire life. I have 2 daughters that went through the system. I now have 4 grandchildren, one of which will be entering the system, 3 of which are in. I was also a teacher for 28 years in Old Bridge, Sandburg, social studies, 8th grade. I'd also, a couple questions. Number one, the principal situation between Grissom and McDivitt, is that finished? Is it decided upon? Have you come to a final vote in that? Do we know?
Do you have a lot of questions, or?
I have a couple.
Could you just ask the rest of them if
Ask them all and then go back?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sounds fine. I feel that the people in Old Bridge need to know more of what's going on in this school district. I've seen a lot of change. I've seen a lot of good, and I've seen a lot go bad. And right now, I'm promoting that more be out in the open, less behind closed doors, voting going on in the open with people to hear exactly what the board members are saying, exactly how the board members are voting, not just seeing it on a piece of paper. Many, many years ago, I took 15 years off from teaching, and I was the PTA president in this township for 9 years in one school or another. And they didn't go behind closed doors back then. They said it out in the open. There is too much going on and too much moving around and people losing jobs. And I think we found this out with the principals. We found out that neither one of them wanted to be moved. So why was there even a discussion? Also with personnel, it happens. We had a situation a year ago where a position was done away with because there weren't enough funds. But less than a year later, that person, or excuse me, that position was reopened. Not allowed to use names, correct?
You can choose to use names.
Thank you. Dr. Tui decided to put his wife in the position. Does anybody else see something wrong with that? Or I'm the only old person in Old Bridge that sees something wrong with that? Thank you. Thank you. Coaches, are they going to be allowed to select their coaching staff, or do they have to get who they're told to take because they're not up with the higher cartel as far as administrators? Safety comes first. When you've taken a program and you've put everything, your gut and your glory into it, and they give you a coach that knows nothing, and you go on to national and state championships, what are you going to do with a coach that knows nothing about the sport? I'll stop there. Thank you. But I do like some answers, please. Don't tell me that we have to wait, because we don't. I know the answers already. Thank you.
Well, I could say with the vote on the transfer, I was ready to vote for it in person, but what happened is we, as Mr. Cedeno could say, we came, I don't know, should I say? Yes, so we decided that since there was not support for the transfer, we weren't going to vote it on this week. So that's why that happened. But I was fully ready to vote yes.
Why was it all being discussed behind closed doors? This should be something that's out here for the public. Move it into the auditorium if you think you're going to get that many people. These people voted you people into position. What's going on here? This place is going down the you-know-whatter.
Yeah, but I think we discussed last week, we aren't allowed to say, their intentions or their feelings unless they come out with themselves.
Yeah, but by law, they're not allowed to come out and speak to it.
Just to clarify the personnel issues, and it's every time we use the word personnel from this table, it's frustrating to the people who aren't at this table, and that's totally understandable. But the privacy belongs to the employee, even if the employee doesn't want it. So when there were transfers being considered, of course there are always reasons for these things. People can disagree with those reasons. But if the reasons have to do with personnel issues, and issues doesn't necessarily mean something went wrong, it's just personnel issues having to do with the individuals themselves. That's not going to be discussed publicly, and it wasn't 15 years ago either. It's
yes,
just
it
not
was.
No, it wasn't, unless this board broke the law, but we're not going to say that it did. Those issues have to be discussed in executive session. The vote always has to take place publicly. You just saw with another action item tonight that there are discussions in executive session, and then the vote takes place publicly, and the vote is the only thing that counts as far as what actually ends up happening. So yes, it's frustrating.
But you people found out that neither one of those principals, they did not initiate any of that. So what's there to vote on? Oh, somebody didn't like them?
Yeah, this isn't a public,
Right.
it's not a go back and forth. This is
Not to go back and forth. Thank you,
just
Letty.
trying to respect.
I'm respecting.
No,
Trust me.
What I said before.
I
so
cut off
just-
my list. All right, anybody else on anything else? Because that one didn't fly.
Sorry.
Hi, Ms. Rosen. The position in which you're talking about, in which you're implying that Dr. Tui's wife took over the position, while that's accurate, it wasn't a new position that was reposted that she took over. She was already an existing employee and took on the responsibility of the position, which is different than hiring someone new to replace that position. So it's like if you're the supervisor of physical education and you have a supervisor of nurses, and you you remove the supervisor of nurses and you give the responsibility of supervisor of nurses to the supervisor of physical education, you have one person doing the job of two people, and that's what happened in that situation.
How do you account for the increase in pay and the change in pay and the supplemental pay and the fact that she's making $20,000 more this year?
There is differences between supervisors and directors, and having one director with more responsibility is light years less expensive than having two supervisors with benefits in two positions.
Oh, I agree with you very much. So get rid of the one that is not married to the person who is in charge. That makes a lot of sense, especially when they're not as qualified as the other one was. All right, is that what we're doing with the guidance counselor over at Sandburg also?
All right, now I gotta cut you off, I'm sorry. You should send me and Mr. Cedino an email with all your concerns, and they could email it in a better way.
You'll see it on Channel 12. Thank you.
What'd you say? Okay, yep.
Hi, Christina Mazzone. I would like to start off by thanking the board members for not disrupting our students for the upcoming school year, and also like to thank the board members who spoke up last week regarding when this was being brought up. There was a couple of board members that spoke up and chose to ask questions rather than just, table it. I would also like to mention that last week, Mrs. D'Antuono and Mrs. Joffrey both wanted to table their decision to vote publicly because they wanted to reach out to the principals, but she was never actually told publicly by anyone that that is against policy. So that's one. Two, Superintendent Cittadino stated in his email that at the conclusion of the executive session, the board demonstrated that there was not majority support to advance the motion on the agenda. And although I understand that the conversation happens in private, the votes are not, and I am here to ask the board members to share publicly which way you voted in tonight's session.
My vote was no. Now, anyone else could give their intention, because we can't discuss what happens in executive session. Now, does anyone else have anything to say? No. No, I said we're going to move to old business. No, because I want everyone to speak first. You know what I mean? Yeah, sorry.
Chris Pancini. And good evening. And I'm just going to say, it was a pleasure and an opportunity again tonight to speak publicly. See, last week I was getting new to this. I was just touching my toes in. But as you don't know me, I am not no stranger to this. I was a member and an advocate on the task force and different platforms for major movements right over the bridge. And getting acclimated to Old Bridge and my family of 3 daughters last week was my first time here. And I really seen a lot of things that I was not happy with. And that were touched on today, really. And like Ms. D'Antonio said, she wanted to table it, and that's fine. And she did speak about speaking to principals. I don't know how 75% of the people out here know that she can't speak to the principals, but nobody up there, including our lawyer, didn't even mention anything. Other things like it was spoken about, like this is like really ridiculous. How this is just so up in the air. Like, and I said it last week. Like Holker, she might have been on the phone at the time, but I said it last week, and Cittadino. I just don't understand how we came to this point. I just don't understand it. It just had to be like a 2-man show. And I said it last week. A Cittadino Holker just, I don't know what they were doing. Let's just mess things up today. And wait to the very last day. Let's wait to the very last day. So the principal has no time to prepare. So the kids have no time to prepare. So my kids get devastated. So our kids get devastated. I said it last week, right? I had to peel my kids out of the bath. What if I did that to your kids? How would you feel? You're the superintendent that gets paid $250,000 a year from us. Did you put us into consideration? Or was just a professional analysis? Well, your professional analysis was not that good. I'm going to keep coming. Thank you.
Katina Butts. I want to start off by thanking the Board of Ed members for not disrupting our students and not moving forward with the transfer. I'm happy to see that the recommendation was rescinded by our superintendent. However, I would like to read you the last sentence in the email from Mr. Cittadino that us parents received. It states, "No action on the transfer will take place at the June 27th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. The matter will be reviewed throughout the course of the 2023-2024 school year for future consideration." As a parent, that last sentence in that email feels like a veiled threat. It's us. The last thing we want to see is for our children to have to go through this next year. Like many other parents said, the last day of school was like a funeral. And my kids are ecstatic that he's staying, but that doesn't make us feel any better when you're kind of just throwing it in there that maybe you get him this year, but we might just do it a little different next year. So I want some clarification on that if possible. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify, to Mr. Mancini's point, I appreciate the critique, but that was a legal question that you raised. It was a legal question that was raised by comments that were made up here last week. So we went into executive session to address those issues that couldn't be addressed publicly. We talked about it. Thank you, but we are aware, and no, I'm answering your question about whether board members talked about reaching out to people. We addressed that in executive session with the other legal issues that came up last week publicly. I'm not your lawyer. I'm the board's lawyer, and there are times when that doesn't mean the same thing. In the best of instances, it means exactly the same thing because you deserve to know as much as you can know. But there are times when it doesn't work out that easily. It's frustrating. There was legal advice that I gave to board members that didn't apply to the public, so it's not that you shouldn't have known, it's that the board members needed to know it privately.
Well, you're there to protect the board, that's why.
I'm there to advise the board.
It seems more of a protection. I didn't know if you were going to answer the other question, or is that afterwards? Do I start?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, my name is Tara Finkelstein. I was really pleased to hear that there is not going to be a change for the upcoming year, but similarly, I have the same feeling about that last line in the email that I think is very questionable what's going to happen. And I would hope that if there is going to be a change, that there would be a more thoughtful transition for everyone, for the principal, for the students, for the teachers, everyone in the staff. You know, if you're going to give Grissom and McDivitt or any other school a new principal, that they're acclimated and it's an announcement earlier in the year, and maybe there's some leadership development training that's given out, and any other of those personnel matters that are happening that, you know, everyone can benefit from and actually take some training. Because I think the takeaway here is that if we would have been more prepared, or we would have known, and not that you have to tell us what you're doing with your personnel, but as a parent of a child in the school who came home very upset to find out that his principal was leaving, it would have been better received in the beginning of the year rather than the very end when there was nothing to be done. So I'm hoping that if there is going to be a change in the future, that everyone just think about it in a thoughtful manner and really use the resources that you have to put in place a plan that has a long-term benefit to everybody and not just a shakeup. But I do appreciate everyone taking the time. A lot of you are actually listening to all of us and looking at us and paying attention, where some of the other members were checking their email or their phone or whatever they were doing and not looking, and that really meant a lot to many of us. So I just wanted to thank you for that and for listening to us, and really, it's really about the kids, and they're really happy, and I'm really happy that our kids are happy, so thank you.
Scott Mazzello again, different reason. I'm the public relations coordinator for the district and a teacher at Sauk. I just want to thank the kids who were here last week who came up to the podium to speak. That takes a lot of guts. No matter what happens with principals and how kids feel about their principal, I mean, one constant in this universe is change. Kids are going to have to cope with change at some point or another, whether it be today or tomorrow or 5 years from now. But what these kids will remember is that they got up and they spoke their mind. We teach them, Chris Monegro can attest to this, we teach them that in social studies, the importance of having a voice, of going to bat and advocating for yourself. You don't always get what you want. Our reaction to change and our reaction to not getting what we want is just as important as going after what you want. So, that's important to how you react in front of your children as well. I just want to share a quick story. When I was in 6th grade, my mom, who was a bit of an activist, I don't know if you remember the old tuna can. Remember tuna, or dolphins, safe tuna? Dolphins were getting caught in the purse seine nets and everything. So my mom took it upon herself to challenge the Old Bridge School Board to stop serving tuna in the cafeteria. And she got every kid in the district involved. We signed a petition that was so large, an airplane had to take a picture of it from Cheesequake Park. And we all got up to the mic at the board meeting, and we all, I was like, little Mazzella. And the board struck it down. They were just like, no, we can't do that. So we were disappointed. But I don't remember the disappointment as much as I remember the experience of getting up here and speaking and, practicing democracy. So you all won, no matter what happens with principals, you all won by, encouraging your kids to do that. And I just wanted to commend you commend your kids. In fact, a couple of my students were up here as well. Commend them for doing their civic duty. But like I said, change is going to come eventually. You're going to have to go to middle school where we get you, with different principal and vice principals and all that. But the kids will be all right. They're resilient. So thank you, guys. All right.
Hi, my name is Pauline Angeluca. My daughter is one of the students at Grissom. We do want to thank the members of the board. She did speak last week. She was one of the little girls crying. They were devastated, and they are so thrilled that their principal is staying, and we want to thank you guys as members of the board for voting to keep the principals in place currently. I will also just vote, state my opinion on that email that said, kind of basically saying you kind of won the fight for now, but you didn't win the war, basically kind of extending this into another year of will they or won't they. It just brings anxiety on us as parents. That will trickle down to the parents. We don't want to necessarily see that. We appreciate it in the moment, but we just don't want this to kind of drag out for the next year. Also, one of the things that was mentioned last week at the meeting was that typically when there are changes to principals and there are shuffles, that it's district-wide, and this felt very specific to Grissom and McDivitt for a reason. And I will say I was not impressed with Dr. Hoker on her phone the entire time that this conversation was happening. It was very disrespectful for the parents, for the kids, and to not show up today, that's fine. I understand people have things that happen, but during the meeting when these kids were speaking and crying their hearts out, she was on her phone or doing whatever. So I just want to make that apparent that we noticed that, and I'm sure the kids may not, but we as parents noticed that. The other thing is I recall last week Ms. D'Antonio and I think Mr. Chowdhury wanted to table the conversation after speaking with the principals and understanding the situation, but I also know that there was some kind of endorsement between the OBEA and you guys. I don't know if that played any part in this in kind of wanting to table the discussion, so I don't know if there's any kind of, discussion between the OBEA and you guys for this is what you need to do in that case, so just if you guys can touch on that too. Thank you.
Andrew Lewis, the OBEA. Just want to clarify that the OBEA did endorse 3 candidates this past fall, but does not talk to them about how they vote or encourage them to vote anyway or have anything to do with the transfer that was on last week's agenda.
Hello, Michelle Layton. My daughter was up here last week, Layla. She spoke as well. Just wanted to thank you as well. I had written emails to everyone in the beginning when I heard about this transfer, and I thank you, each and every one of you, for responding, as I was very concerned about the kids and everyone's mental health. As I've never was afraid to tell my daughter anything. This was the first thing. My daughter's 6. Was the first time I was ever afraid to tell her something, because her principal means so much to her, as I'm sure everyone saw. So I just wanted to thank everyone for making the right decision for our children. But I also want to express my concerns as well that the email that we did receive does make me nervous for this year. Can we enjoy our summer a little bit more? Yes, I can, knowing that we have our principal again for next year, but I still am nervous that things may change. I do like what was said, if we know ahead of time that this could be planned better for our children so they don't have a funeral for their last day of school next year. So I am concerned about that. And nervous for the future. Are we just going to have them for this year and have to expect this to happen again? So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, but I hope we can do this differently. I understand that change does need to be made. Changes are made all the time, but I hope it's done in a better way if it happens to our school again. So thank you. Thank you again.
Hi, I'm Dana Marquetta. My kids do go to Grissom. Well, my child goes to Grissom. And I just want to thank the board members for speaking out last week and knowing what's right. When you don't have answers, you're kind of like stuck in a nutshell. And, you know, the right thing is for Mrs. Coletti to stay at McDivitt and Dr. Rico to stay at Grissom. And I just want to thank you guys for doing the right thing for our kids.
Anyone else? Okay.
Okay, hello. My name's Amanda Caffrey. Thank you for the consideration there with my daughter. I appreciate it. So first and foremost, I want to thank the board for the decision to not disrupt our students, our children, and transfer the 2 principals. I'm looking forward to hearing how everyone voted. It matters to me as a voting resident that the board is there to support our children. There's something that I wasn't going to, it wasn't even in my mind, but actually a prior speaker made me think of something, and now I'm curious. So I'm interested to understand, is there a policy in place in the district that would prevent a spouse from reporting to another spouse? If there's not, I encourage the board to implement something like that. I work for a private company, and that's not allowed where I work for many reasons. So I'm curious if there is a policy in place to prevent stuff like that from happening within our school district. And if there is not, I do encourage the board to motion to work on a policy to prevent stuff like that, because like I said, it doesn't make sense in private business, and as big as our school district is, you know, Those policies are there to protect the children and protect funny things from happening. Okay? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Okay, I will close the hearing of the residents.
To that last point, Ms. Caffrey, there is in fact a nepotism policy here, and it's actually a state-level policy that's required in all school districts and exists in all of them, including Old Bridge. A spouse can't, actually any family member, can't supervise or evaluate another staff member, and you administratively schedule and adjust the chain of command accordingly. You're a big enough school district that that's pretty easy. In other school districts, it's somewhat challenging, but yes, that is certainly a consideration, and it is addressed here.
And to answer your question, I voted no also. And I went to the administration and said, if you're going to move two, move all of them, okay, to do it the right way. Because of the size of the schools itself, if you have a school with 500 kids and one with 200, spread the wealth around, okay? That's my opinion. And I voted no.
And I wasn't going to say that because it was done in executive session, but Mr. Solikowski said it. You know, and that's the point of that last part of the letter. Mr. Solikowski suggested next year we move all the principals, so that when I say for a year, I'm not just talking about Grissom School. The solution was that to go back to what Mr. Kuchala, superintendent, did years ago, and moved all principals at the elementary level every 5 years. And I say, for me, you know, apparently you might not agree with all my decisions, but I say that causes more disruption. It doesn't allow principals to create ties and connections to the community. I purposefully do not do that. I do it where situations are warranted and needed, and you may not agree with those situations, is because I can't tell you all of them, but the board members know them, and that information is shared with them prior to that. And the information had consensus coming into that meeting. However, their opinions were swayed, and that's fine. And that happens in executive session. And to answer for all of them, I don't think any of them supported leaving it on the agenda after the executive session. So that's why it was removed from the agenda. You know, and like you said, Ms. Caffrey, in business, things happen all the time, and transfers happen all the time. And in any business, whether you have your best executive chef and you have 15 restaurants, a lot of times you'd make a move, because sometimes in the smallest restaurant where you're not serving as many people, because maybe it's in a smaller clientele, you'd move them to where you serve more people. Or in a hospital situation, if you have the general manager of a hospital, president of a hospital, working, and he's great and he makes great connections, or she's great, she makes great connections, you move them to where they serve the most amount, especially over 10 years, 12 years of time. You make those changes because you're looking to the overall growth of the community, and not just one school. I understand you're saying that, but these kids are students, and they grow up to be that in elementary level impacts middle school, and impacts how they are in high school, and impacts how they graduate and go to college. So it's not just talking about, you know, just talking about while they're 3 years old. It has an impact, or 5 years old. It has an impact while they go to 18 and beyond. So I understand that. I again, and that's why I do not advocate for moving people every 5 years regardless. We weigh it, we decision, and in this situation, you know, your situation, it was reviewed by the board as it should be, and it was removed from the agenda. You know, as the board has stated, you know, some members have stated, move them every 5 years. I don't know how that improves the situation, but so. I'm going to turn it over to the board president because executive section is closed, but if he says I can answer one more question, I'll do so.
Well, just give all your comments first, and then we'll go back.
I don't know if there was many more that was kind of left unopened. That was kind of like where I was at with it. Just they're looking for the vote, and I'm telling you that no one vote. It wasn't like a straw poll, just having conversations, discussion. There wasn't enough support, and I don't believe anybody disagreed with me at that point.
We didn't vote.
Sure, we didn't vote.
We didn't have a vote in an executive
We didn't
session.
vote,
We had a
but-
discussion.
Hold on, board
But
members,
for
hold on.
myself personally, I still felt I didn't have enough information and was going to keep continuing to find out additional information as to reasons and things. I didn't feel even, I said that at the agenda meeting, and then I also said it in executive session, so I was not prepared. I didn't feel that I had enough information to make a vote either way.
Well, I was just gonna say, we don't vote in executive session, so everything we're saying is, what we would have intended to do tonight, because we can't discuss things in executive session.
I'm fine with speaking about it. I asked a lot of questions, and I actually said people probably hated me when I left, but I did not feel comfortable supporting it. I didn't have, I couldn't myself get an answer or make it plausible in my head that it made sense to vote that way. I just couldn't, and I'm sure a lot of people agreed.
And also, to the parent that said we just tabled it for an hour, we were here till 11 o'clock PM that night. Volunteer positions, we were here till 11 o'clock, so we didn't table it for an hour. I didn't have enough information. So that's the reason why we went into executive session, so we could discuss, and none of us agreed that we could approve it to going forward. Sorry? No, that's why it was removed.
Those of us that said we didn't have enough information, we're going to spend the week getting more. My email was to the administration office to pass it through. Could I contact the principals directly? No. But I still had a pathway, and my email was sent by 9 a.m. the next morning. Again, we didn't get home till 11:30 at night. We were at graduation at 8 a.m. that morning. That was a long day, but you still have people that you elected into office dedicated to finding out more. Multiple parties, and that's why the email went to multiple people. So. Not necessarily, because,
All right,
so the question was, for those watching on TV, the question was, should we as board members have that information ahead of hand? No, because I'm not privy to every personnel file in the district. The board chooses the superintendent chooses the rest of the employees. Everything comes on a recommendation standpoint. So at some point, you trust the people that you have. Your CEO doesn't know your person pumping gas, okay? But you're trusting that they're pumping $20 worth of gas at the gas station. If there's a question, they go down and they investigate it. And that's what this was a situation was. There was a recommendation that came up of, hey, let's change this person and this person. It happens all the time in our agendas, that's fine. And part of that is us trusting the people that we employed. But at the same point, when it came to a situation that we didn't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I really can't have this back and forth happening. The board members are gonna make their final comments after the meeting.
And I'll
After the
just,
meeting. Or you could email us.
and this
like
is
a regular
after,
person.
again, this closed, there was
I
the
answered, I'm
public
sorry,
portion
but-
was closed, but I'm just gonna continue on with my answers. Hopefully, some of my answers will meet you where you need to know for information. As far as the questions about voting and transparency, that's the way situations work in a Board of Education. The agenda meeting is where they are allowed to ask a lot of questions. I can't have a meeting prior to that meeting, the agenda meeting, with the majority of the board. I can't have it with more than 4 members. We have committees. Information about the transfers went to the committees. At that point, they were given information. They had opportunity to ask more questions. The only place we can discuss it further is at agenda session. That's why something goes on the agenda, even though I might not have 9 votes for it either way, it still has to go on the agenda because I can't have a closed-door, behind-the-scene meeting with them on it prior to the meeting. Now, we can have an executive session meeting after the meeting, or even prior to, just as it goes, but it has to still be advertised, has to be in the paper, it has to be on our website, it has to be so everybody in the public knows we're having a meeting and discussing it. Certain topics are allowed for executive session conversations. Personnel is one of them. We talked about that last week. The perk. You can't infringe upon a public employee's privacy. Even if I want to, they have to say, "Hi, I want to talk about it here publicly." If they wanted to talk about the reasons, rationale, then they can ask those kind of questions at a public meeting. But they have to be riced to do that. These are all the situations that go into that. So there is a lot of transparency in it, as much as the law allows. Certain things about the timing of it. June 1st was the decision we made. I had a suggestion from a parent that we do it September 1st. I can imagine that if I said we're going to transfer your principal September 1st, at least 75% of you, that's a terrible idea. Then you're going to ruin the whole school year for the kids. They're going to be miserable the whole year. There are districts, and in this district's done in the past, where the transfers are done after the kids get out of school. I would never do that either. I want these principals to be able to convey their information, to have their information, and prior to. So is there a great time to transfer someone when the public doesn't want to be transferred? I don't know what that date is, but I'd be willing to hear emails from anyone who wants to send me an email to say, hey, this date would probably be better. This month would be probably better. There's no date that would. I understand change is never good for any kids. I get it. Again, I'm not running anywhere. You guys can talk to me after the meeting if you want, but the executive session item's closed.
I didn't say 5 years. We had a problem similar to, I'm here over 50 years in this district between teaching and being on a board. The superintendent, we had a similar situation probably about 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And he decided, remember, you are the public. You were paying the salaries over here. You're telling us what to do. And we want you to do that. This is why I voted the way I voted. But this superintendent, he decided that everybody's going to be transferred. But he let everybody know a year ahead of time. Okay? This is the way he worked. He was up front. Also, that superintendent, the reason why he picked every 5 years, because the kids go through the entire system in 5 years at elementary, okay? No. He just moved everybody this way. Everybody was treated equally. I'm sorry. Oh, boy. Do I have paper towels? No. I know. Got it? I apologize for spilling my coffee.
I'm sorry, we can't. We shouldn't be.
Yeah, in all of the contracts, there are requirements, time notification, deadlines for transfers for the next school year, if it's going to happen the next school year.
Mr. Parton, if I just want to be correct, so the information about the status of an employee is for renewal and non-renewal purposes by May 1st.
Well, it's by May 15th.
May 15th. But transfers, according even to the OBA contract and the principal's contract, or as when needed.
Right. There are policies that have specific dates in them. You're talking about renewal, Dave.
And in accordance with that, if that is correct, because it was Dr. Rico was notified and Lord Miscaletta was notified before June 1st.
Well, we can't assume anyone voted for anything because we didn't vote on anything.
Well, I know, but you're in favor of the no, so you do not want to be transferred. You do not want the transfer to go through. The ones that probably said we do not want the transfer to go through, the ones that are not going to say in the public forum or in this meeting, I think you should take it as you guys yeses, that they're silent.
So for those on TV, the question at hand is for those of us that said we wanted more information, are you assuming that we were for the transfer? And I would say no, I wouldn't assume anything, because why would I ask more questions if I was in favor of anything? Because if I was in favor, I wouldn't take the time to again, we're all volunteer. We don't get paid a dime to do any of this. Okay, so we were spending our time of our own to investigate, to make sure that this was the right decision for the district. Go for it.
And
I get,
okay, but, and we just told you.
Yeah,
We didn't
yeah, I'm
vote. There
sorry.
wasn't a vote. We didn't vote because we didn't have enough information. So
We didn't
I'm
get
gonna
the
say it
information, I
again.
would have abstained.
We didn't have enough information to make the decision, and that's why exactly what we said in public, and we said it in executive session.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
we
because
really-
since
we
it was
can't-
taken off the
yeah.
agenda,
It was taken off the table, and we never went forward with it.
All right, any
you
other
can
old
prove if you
business
want,
from
but
board members?
I can tell you,
Yeah, Miss, I'm sorry.
So-
I'm sorry. We have
because it
to.
was taken off the table, so there was no need to. But I can tell you one thing, and I think I speak for the other people, that you may not always agree with the decision I make, but I can tell you that it will be an informed decision, and it will be my own decision, not based on anybody else. So you can rest assured that when I vote yes or no, it's because it's something that I feel, and a decision I made based on information that I gathered. Does that answer your question?
Okay, sorry. No, we can't. I'm very sorry. Any other comments from board members only?
When we're into old and new business, the public portion's closed, and then, hold on, and then, I understand, I'm trying to answer. And then each board member has the right, not the obligation, to your point. They can tell you what they themselves happen to think. There was no vote in executive session, but if board members, like what Mr. Giordano just did, if they choose to do that, that's coming up in a moment. The public portion's over, but the board members do have that opportunity. They don't have to take it, but that is an option that they have now.
Okay. Any other old business?
I got a couple of things. I was not in support of the of the transfer. There wasn't enough, not information, but there's just, if two things are working well and both schools are functioning okay, then there's really no reason to do it. We got a taxpayer from the Grissom community, which again is not all of Old Bridge, but it's that community that it was affecting. So we heard from that community. A couple of parents had spoke to me after from the McDivitt School, and they told me that they were also not in support of it as well. That McDivitt is actually running fine. So I was not in support of it. I would have voted no. And to the gentleman's point, I think, Chris, I think what they just wanted to know is, from the vibe, the way I understood the wording, was they just wanted to know if they didn't know the rules, that they couldn't contact the principal at that point. As a board attorney, why didn't you advise them at that point so that we could have done a public vote if need be? I think that was what the gentleman was trying to say.
If that's what people were trying to say, that's fine. I apologize if I misunderstood it. The fact is that is a legal question, and when a board member talks about different lines of communication, I need to inform them as to what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, so we did that in executive session.
Right, but we could have taken the public vote at that point had the attorney told the two board members that were probably may have not been in the know. Had the attorney probably told them, hey, ladies, you can't speak to the principals.
Mr. Marqueta, what Ms. Jodra and Ms. D'Antuono said was they needed more information. They listed a couple of things they might do. It was not my place to say, this one thing can't be done, so let's vote. That board member's motion to table is their call to make. That motion to table was defeated, so we move forward. There's not much more I can say about that vote.
And we got our information in executive session. You know, you wanted to call the principals or reach out to the principals directly. We were here for 3 hours going back and forth with the administration to get more information. So, you know,
Would it be safe to say that there was a very light vote taken to see if there was support to put that on the agenda?
I think Dave already said he gauged whether there was support in the room, and there very much was not.
Correct. Okay, thank you. Okay, I got something for new business when we're up to that. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Any other old business? Okay, new business.
Yes, new business. So, previously, there was a board member who was a PTA president. She was advised through the board attorney that she should resign her position, and I didn't know that this was a thing until maybe last week. Ms. D'Antono is still a PTA president, so why is that not given back to Ms. D'Antono the same way it was done to Ms. Francisco? She should probably have to step down as well, right? I
No,
mean,
no.
Considering.
And as you know, Ms. Francisco did not step down. There was a more recent School Ethics Commission decision that allows it. There are other former board members, some in the room, who were affected by that under the old laws or the old decisions. Those were updated. Ms. Francisco was not ultimately affected by the old rule. She was allowed, or she had the decision of whether to stay as a PTA officer or not, and the same is true now.
So she was never advised that she should step down as a PTA president?
I spoke to her about it.
I
but
also
no,
spoke
she
to
did
her
not.
from a state PTA level, because I'm also on the board of the state PTA.
So isn't that like a conflict of interest?
No.
No, okay.
Because
All right.
they're two separate entities. I can't vote on something from Memorial PTA, but I also spoke to Ms. Francisco and told her that she did not need to step down. She's entitled to do both. I checked with the state PTA, who also checked with the school board, and she was told she didn't have to. She chose to, and I asked before I even ran.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to clarify because I wasn't sure of the situation. Thank you.
Yep, that used to be a different situation than it has been for the last couple of years.
Okay, any other new business? Okay, thank you all for coming. Sorry to cut you all short, but we have to follow the rules, so I'm sorry for that. And have a nice summer. We'll see you back in August. Thank you.
No executive session?
No executive session.
Have a good summer, everybody.
Yeah, have a motion to adjourn.
Marqueta seconds.
All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? The board is adjourned at 9:04 p.m.